And now I'm going to do the bow in her hair. And the bow has a center. This happens to be a particularly nice piece of wood. It takes the chisel very nicely, and it's kind of a pleasure to work in. But as I said, you never know what you're going to hit once you start carving. This is the outline of her hair that I am guiding it with my left hand and pushing with my right. And I always have both hands behind the chisel because, as my carving teacher said to me, if you have both hands on the chisel, you can't cut yourself. Now I'm going to see how this wood takes the curve like this. Ah, very nice. Nice piece of wood. This is carving number 735. Carvings number 734 and 733 are on the wall over there. Now I'm going to carve her halo. I have been frequently asked why I put halos around the people in my carvings. And the answer is, first of all, that it's right. I've had many suggestions from people to what these halos represent. I've had righteousness, innocence, but I finally think that what they really represent is what we human beings have in common with each other. According to my background, which was Eastern European religious, Jewish, my ancestors were followers of the Kabbalah, and the Kabbalah believed that every human being has within him a divine spark which comes from God. And these halos represent to me what we share as human beings, which comes from God. Now I'm going to do the details of her face. And now I'm going to do the eyes, which is always one of the trickier things that I do. Being a doctor is an advantage when you're working with anatomy because you study it all the time and you use it. Being a doctor means that I deal with pain, suffering, life, and death all the time. And when I'm asked by people how I can carve children who were murdered, the answer is I've gotten tough over the years. I've been a doctor for almost 50 years, and I've learned how to do it. I started my first carving April 1st, 2002. I have now incised Marie Ellen's photograph onto a block of wood, and now the next step in carving is to take out the background. I begin by protecting the top, because this one thing about carving is when you're going with the grain, it's easy, like I'm doing now. But when you try going cross grain or against the grain, it's very difficult. So taking out background is what beginners do. I carve on the weekends from morning till night, and I carve when I work at the office from the end of supper until bedtime, usually from about 6:30 till about 11. My wife is sitting over there sewing, and she's either sewing, knitting, or playing music, which is upstairs, and I hear it down here. When someone once asked her, what's it like to have a husband who spends all his time carving, she says, at least I know where he is. I like practicing medicine. It's a lot of fun, and I'm good at it. And I look forward to carving while I'm practicing medicine, and I look forward to practicing medicine while I'm carving. I enjoy helping people, and sometimes they're live people, and sometimes they're dead children. By preserving an image, or taking a black and white photo and turning it into a three-dimensional carving, I'm helping to memorialize the memory of this girl. So I am still taking out background, And you always have to think about which direction your grain is, because if you carve against the grain, you dig in, and if you go with the grain, it's good. My carving teacher always said the things that are handmade take 3 or 4 times longer than you anticipate, because you never know what you're going to find. When my carving teacher, who was trained in Germany at the school at Oberammergau, went back to the school, he was very upset because he said they're not carving the way I was taught. He said, I was taught to carve, that everything was done with chisels and gouges, and now they have machines that do most of the work, and then the carver puts some final touches on it. So his word on this was, my teachers would have been appalled. So I guess I'm the last one. So we're going to take, let me get this tool right here. This one. So we're working on now on getting this background a little smooth, hoping there are no big surprises. We have a little surprise, but so far everything's manageable. It's like driving to a cliff. If you stop short, you're very safe, but it's boring. You've got to drive right to the edge, then you've done it. If you go too far, you're over. Like the painting becomes mud or something, or you've lost part of a carving. But the purpose of art is to drive as fast as you can and just hit that brake and stop at the edge of the abyss. And easy art is when people set themselves goals that are too short and it makes it too easy. You know you're going to do it. Why bother? There has to be the challenge. Each one, I swear to God, I'll never get it. We'd like to carve the hair in this one. You'll see, like, how the hell is he going to... And one break and it's done. It has to be perfect. And when I make a mistake, I have to carve it away and carve it again.